Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Max Velocity weather forecast. And in today's forecast, we'll be going over your Thanksgiving, what to expect in terms of the weather. Will you see rain? Will you see sunshine? Will you even see some snow? And as well as the overall excessive rainfall that is coming up over the next several days, mixed in with a potential for a few severe storms. I'll get into the forecast for you right now. Let's first begin with what's happening across the United States today, which is actually quite interesting because there isn't really much out there today. It is very dry across the United States. We do have a high pressure ridge that is dominating the east side of the United States with a couple of scattered to isolated showers in the southern plains and a little bit of shower and even a little bit of snow activity back out in the western half of the United States. But otherwise, there's no organized troughs or even low pressure systems across the entire country. That will all change though heading into tomorrow, as we will likely see a very big dip in the jet stream, which will bring the potential for some rain and as well as even a huge cool down for this upcoming Thanksgiving and as well as Black Friday. So going to late Wednesday into Thursday, this trough will really deepen, really heading into late today. We'll have a trough that'll kind of dip down to the south into the southern plains. This will be positively tilted. That means that we will probably not see a whole lot in terms of severe weather, but you will at least need to be mindful of a good amount of rain and maybe a couple of isolated severe storms. By Friday into Saturday, this becomes much more of a cutoff low, and then by next week, this will eventually move off to the east, but it's going to be very slow moving. So rain over the next few days is expected across the southern plains until this finally gets going and moves off to the north and east. By the way, going into mid to late next week, there's already a slight risk for severe weather in the southern plains. I'll have more on that in another forecast, but the trough is expected to dip again going into next Wednesday. So severe weather outbreak not out of the question going to mid to late next week. More details on that in another forecast. But going into this upcoming couple of days, again, Thanksgiving looks to be dry across a large portion of the United States. The big exception, though, will be the southern plains and as well as the southeast United States. We'll take closer looks at this just in a second. But a lot of rainfall is expected down that direction. We could see some flash flooding as well. Eventually going to Friday, more shower and storm activity across the southern half of the United States. Eventually going into the weekend, that trough will race off to the north and east by about late Saturday into Sunday. So again, a lot of rain is expected across the southern plains over the next few days. And it all begins with late today. And we're already starting to see a few of those showers begin to develop. But again, much more of the activity is going to enhance itself over the next 24 hours. So by tomorrow morning, a lot more shower and storm activity will begin to develop. We could even see some snowflakes, maybe a mixture of rain and snow back over in the Texas Panhandle, and eventually going to late Thursday into Friday. So again, if you have any outdoor plans for Thanksgiving during the afternoon hours, you'll probably at least see some scattered to maybe even numerous shower and storm activity. So you might want to think about moving those Thanksgiving plans inside if you're in the southern plains. But eventually going to late Thursday into Friday, some snow could even break out back over in the western half of Texas. So we'll have to watch this closely. Positioning, timing, all that sort of stuff has been changing a lot over the last 24 hours with this area of snow, but we'll keep you updated if anything does change beyond that. But for right now, it looks like it'll be probably west of Lubbock and Amarillo. However, Carroll had some snow closer to those areas. Eventually by Saturday, this rain and as well as the trough will move off to the north and east. So it looks like drier weather is expected for the second half of the weekend in the southern plains. Very little small area for severe weather, at least for tomorrow. There is a marginal threat for southeast Texas. Isolated damaging winds, maybe an isolated hail threat will exist. Overall, the snow threat seems to again be pretty minimal. It'll be on the west half of Texas. So again, probably near the border of New Mexico and Texas. So if you're in those areas, you might see some snow. Again, in terms of how much snow we might see out of this, actually might be pretty substantial, possibly upwards of even maybe 6 to 9 inches of snow in a few locations. So keep that in mind. Overall, in the southeast, we'll begin to have some shower and storm activity fill in late tomorrow. So for Thanksgiving, by the evening hours, if you have any outdoor plans, again, if you're in Louisiana, Mississippi, or Alabama, or even western Florida, a lot more rain activity will fill into those areas. At sometimes it could be heavy, so just keep that in mind. Again, make sure that you are taking the proper precautions, have a plan in place to have an indoor plan for Thanksgiving instead of being outdoors, because it will likely be a pretty rainy late Thanksgiving. Going into early Friday, so Black Friday shopping looks to begin out pretty wet across the southeast half of the United States, but eventually going into the afternoon and evening hours, that rain will clear out. We'll have another band of showers and maybe some storms on late Friday and early Saturday back over into areas like Louisiana. And eventually going to Sunday, we'll probably have that area of showers and storms move off to the east, and it looks like much more widespread action going into late Saturday to Sunday across the southeastern portions of the United States, including Georgia and as well as South Carolina. All right, going into the Ohio Valley region, again, going into pretty much late Friday into Saturday, that trough will start to move off to the north north and east. We'll have some shower and storm activity. Cannot rule out an isolated storm being severe out of this. Maybe some damaging winds up to 60 would be my main concern if with any storms that would be severe, which it seems like it's a pretty low threat at this time. Eventually going to late Saturday into Sunday. Again, that trough races off to the north and east. Cannot rule out a little bit of some flurry action on the western half of this trough, maybe back over in Illinois, but it does not seem to be anything substantial in terms of accumulation. Eventually going into Sunday, it looks to be drying out at least across areas in the Ohio Valley and across a pretty large portion of the United States. When this is all said and done, a lot of rain is going to come out of this. We're still talking about 1 to 5 inches of rain. We could see some areas, especially in southeast Texas, get upwards of 6 to 7 inches of rain. So that's why that thumbnail showed that red color. That's what we're talking about in terms of the potential for maybe some flash flooding, especially across southeast Texas and southwest, Louisiana. All right, rain over the northeast. So this can be a bit of a different story. Going to Sunday into Monday, we could see some showers and storms. Can't rule out some snow on the back end of this, so we might get a little bit of accumulation, but that would probably be back up in northern Maine. Eventually that clears out by Monday. So again, quick moving trough, it looks like at the tail end of the weekend if you're back up in the northeast. And as I mentioned before, the snow accumulation for now seems to be again between maybe about 4 to 8 inches in the really heaviest location. So again, probably west of Amarillo and Lubbock would be where you'd see the most snow out of this system. Temperatures for Thanksgiving look to be pretty mild across the southern half of the United States. On the other hand, we're still talking about really cold conditions back up in North Dakota, and eventually going to Black Friday, slightly warmer across a large portion of the United States. On the other hand, though, we're still talking about really much warmer conditions across the southeast half of the United States. Make sure to like the button down below, subscribe if you've not already. This forecast is brought to you by Platinum Contracting.